In 1967, Elizabeth and Sahag Apatisian opened a cheese shop in a tiny space in Berkeley.
It originally started as how it's termed, a mom-pop business operation. And as we saw the success of it, me politically and my wife morally and spiritually felt that if we were going to have hired labor, it would come in conflict with these principles. And I've been in politics for a long time, and I've had some kibbutz experience. So the idea of collectivizing the business seemed very natural for me. And on the spiritual level and on the moral level, it seemed very natural for my wife to go along with it. So instead of having exploited labor, we wanted to equalize the situation. In that's the same kind of work conditions that we would want to be in ourselves. And so we just asked the people who were working with us at that time if they wanted to collectivize the store, which in effect meant that everybody would be an equal owner. And that's what happened.
Although operating within a capitalist system that values materialism, rewards exploitation, and reveres hierarchy, the ideals of this core group of worker owners has been maintained throughout more than 4 decades.
What's unique about the cheese board, or one thing I think that is unique, is that everyone's paid the same wage, whether they've been here 20 years or 2 months.
Our benefits package includes health insurance for workers and their dependents. We also offer ourselves 4 weeks of paid time off per year. That's also based on the number of hours you work. In terms of health insurance and the flexible spending plan, profit sharing, paid time off, I would say that it would be difficult to find this benefits package doing the same work anywhere else.
Mi nombre es Mateo Chávez. He trabajado en esta cooperativa por los últimos 20 años. Un poco de información que tengo para las personas que les interese esta cuestión de cooperativa es que el sistema trabaja. El sistema es un sistema que relativamente le recomiendo a todas las personas que quieren estar dentro de este proceso de cooperativa. Es un proceso en lo cual aprendes demasiado, aprendes mucho, aprendes a convivir tanto con diferentes clases de gente y aprendes diferentes etapas, diferentes procesos del trabajo. En esa cooperativa es una de las cooperativas en las cuales lo mismo estás trabajando con clientes. Estás trabajando en diferentes cosas, ya sea haciendo pagos, cheques, un poco de limpieza. Es una cooperativa, por eso le llamo una cuestión de cooperativa, porque todos cooperamos para que el lugar esté en buena situación, tanto económicamente como en cuestión de limpieza. Sí, estoy haciendo una de las cuestiones que me encanta hacer, como atender al cliente y ser el servidor del cliente. Quisiera poderles hablar un poquito más de cómo trabaja la cooperativa, pero se llevaría suficiente tiempo para explicarles. La cooperativa es una cuestión en la cual tú mismo te sientes un poco obligado a tratar de salir adelante en el proceso de cómo ayudar al cliente, en el proceso de trabajo aquí. Otra cuestión está en que al mismo tiempo, como aquí no hay ningún manager, no hay ningún patrón, no hay nada, tú tomas la decisión de hacer lo que te gusta hacer y lo haces con gusto, porque es como si estuvieras en tu propia casa. Ha cambiado lo máximo. Me siento a gusto, me siento feliz de hacer lo que hago y me gusta trabajar con clientes. Me gusta trabajar, me gusta sonreír, me gusta ser feliz. Y es una de las cuestiones en la cual yo he encontrado en este lugar. Te enseñan a que el mundo sea a ver el mundo un poco más diferente.
It gets to be really boring if you think about the fact that you cut cheese 6 hours a day and unwrap it and wrap it and hand it over to the customer.
Well, then why are you doing this instead of working somewhere else?
But that's the least part of it, although that takes up the most physical time. It's the least part of the business. The fact that I feel I can run this place is what makes me work here.
No, what do you mean run this place? As a supervisor or something?
I have a real part in it. I have a real part in it.
You have a part in doing what?
In owning the store, in being able to determine what happens in it, in putting in my voice. in how the customers are treated, how the cheese is treated, how the store is run, how the money is spent. That's why I'm working.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Aren't there anarchical problems that come up? Isn't it unwieldy sometimes to have everything done by committee?
Very unwieldy. It's very unwieldy. No getting around it. To have to make, for 12 people to make a decision is much more difficult than for one person to make a decision. But ultimately, everybody is satisfied, rather than just the one person who makes the decision. Everybody is satisfied because everybody has contributed to the decision.
In my opinion, for you to be part of a cooperative, you have to put yourself aside and say, I'm going to do what's best for this business, not necessarily what's best for me, for my weekends, for the money that I'm putting in my personal pocket.
I'm given a lot of deference in that area, but I don't think it's necessary at all. I mean, I think the more leadership you need, the less successful it becomes. And there are like expediters. I mean, there are certain, somebody has to do the ordering. So somebody picks up that part of the operation and they do the ordering until they get tired of it or they can't do it anymore. Or maybe they can't do a good enough job with it. And so it has to pass on to someone else. But see, the business tells you what you have to do. And then the collective decides how it should be done. And the fact that the collective does it democratically, I would say basically, and considerately, then the thing gets done in a democratic and a just manner.
A few people who have worked here in the last 9 years who didn't work out. That is, they didn't get along with the other people. They didn't do their work well, and tension got so heavy that eventually they left, and everybody was very relieved. What happens is you're forced to work out personality conflicts, and you grow through it. That's one of the most important things for me working here, is that it's like a family. You can't fire somebody you don't get along with. You have to work it out somehow, and either that person will leave or you'll work it out and they'll stay. It's real valuable. It's real valuable.
Yeah, it is.
What if something happened where you had to fire somebody or let somebody go because of the economy or because business wasn't so good?
I don't think we would.
What would you do instead?
We would all cut back on our own wages.
In other words, everybody would keep working, but you'd lower the wages.
Yeah.
You feel that much for each other that you would not reduce
sure.
staff?
Sure, because every day you work here, you realize that in the end you lose out if you look out for your own only.
The way we make decisions is through consensus, and I'm all for it. It's an interesting process because oftentimes what happens is that the minority will triumph. And every so often, a decision is made and it's like you just stand back and say, wait a minute, how come we didn't decide to do this thing? Because, 18 out of 25 people wanted to do it and there were, 7 who didn't. And oftentimes, it's a certain sensitivity to a minority of people who might feel really, really strongly about something. When you are in the minority and you do vote no on something that most of the group wants, there's a certain responsibility that you have towards the group, which is to be able to articulate and explain yourself. And that's really difficult. And you have to feel safe, and you have to feel loved, and you have to feel respected.
Ownership means you walk by and there's a paper floating in the sidewalk. You got to pick it up. You don't think, am I working or I'm not? Did I throw it or I didn't? And when you look at the overall picture, you see, wow, everyone has something unique to contribute, but in the overall, we're all responsible of the place.
In the number of years that I've been here, there have probably been 4 or 5 people who have been asked in one form or another to leave. Some of those people would probably say, yes, I was fired. Some of those people would say, well, I just quit because it just wasn't working out for me. Each one of those situations was very painful for me because I actually like everybody that has come through this place.
We own this together. We're part of this business together, and it's hard to say to someone, gee, you're not working out. When they're your equals, they're your peers, they're your friends too.
It's very difficult because none of us feel like we have the right, really, to say to someone else, you know, this is my decision. I have the power, you know, over your life. We're all very hesitant in that way, in the same sense that we don't believe in a boss having that power over us. We don't feel like we want that power over anybody else.
I don't think any of the founders of the collective had this in their mind, like we were going to become this big business. I don't think they had that in the back of their head. I think there was just, let's do something for the community, let's do something fun, and that fun became this. Now they created a job for myself, created a job for me, created a job for my coworkers, and now we continue to create a job for others. That means a lot to me. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very blessed for that. And I hope that we, the young generation, can continue to do that, do things, and not expecting anything in return. To do it out of the passion, out of love, out of the future of our next generation, our children's, and hopefully that we can contribute, if not as good as they did, maybe better.
Almost everyone I know is so used to working in a hierarchy, and it has so much ingrained itself in, it seems like, the structures of their brain that they seem to just be exhausted at the thought of actually having to tackle non-hierarchical decision making. And some days I feel exhausted as well. It is worth it. It's worth the exhaustion, it's worth the occasional frustration. Yeah.
In any kind of a business, there's always the premium jobs and the dirt jobs. And theoretically, in a collective, in this collective especially, everyone is going to do all of the jobs. That's the theory. Everybody's going to work out front as a clerk. Everybody's going to sweep the floor at the end of the day. Everybody eventually is going to get a turn at doing the books. In practice, there are people who fear mathematics, for example, and therefore don't really want to do the books. There are people that would just like to sit in the back or stand in the back and bake breads and not wait on customers in the front.
I really like waiting on the customers. I do it hour after hour after hour, and I don't seem to tire of it. The customers are so enamored of us. When relatives come from out of town, the cheese board is on their tour.
The Arizmendi Cooperative is in a way, a spin-off of the cheese board cooperative. And the way it came to be is that several people who worked at the cheese board, plus a retired college professor and a lawyer who was interested in cooperative development, came together and decided that they wanted to replicate the cheese board. The cheese board itself didn't want to start a second store.
We don't want to get a lot bigger. We don't want to keep expanding. We don't want to go the traditional route where you just get bigger and bigger and expand.
We're helping to help other collectives. You know, right now we're helping with Arizmendi's, and to get the idea that instead of being cheese board 1, 2, and 3, that we help other collectives individually.
They sort of spawned us and formed us, and now they're sending us off to do our work, which is based on their recipes and their principles.
Cooperatives don't have a reason to try to expand and take over the world. They're about creating a community and increasing the benefits to the members of that community. The Cheese Board has been really generous and very supportive of the idea to try to create opportunities for democratic work for other people, not just be satisfied with their own position.
Not only do they train in the bakery skills, but they train in group process and consensus decision making, and they're making decisions about their bylaws and accounting practices, and it's a training that encompasses all aspects of the business.
We chose the name Arizmendi in honor of one of the founders of a collective movement in Spain. They have 25,000 workers, they do billions of dollars of business, they have their own factories, their own schools, their own banks. This really inspired us because what we saw as a critical difference between their success and what we see in the U.S. is that their cooperatives work together. They have one cooperative, it helps create another cooperative. The finances generated from that cooperative help generate a school or a bank, and then the bank's finances help other cooperatives. And that's what we're trying to do here, is take the success of one cooperative and help feed that into the cooperative next, and the cooperative next, and the cooperative next.
I think that this whole concept of a cooperative has a much warmer and deeper aspect to it than I had originally expected. I guess I originally expected a business opportunity. So what I hadn't expected was the family aspect of it, the warmth and the sharing and the day-to-day involvement with the people you work with.
Practically, this place has worked to my benefit in many ways, as it has to many other people. It has helped me buy a house. We're in that process of, after renting all my life, and to have a home and feel that I can ask my family to come over or anything. It's some security, and not only the security, but mostly the willingness to see people give other people a chance. And that's sometimes what it takes.
Making $1 million isn't really where it's at. It's having good, honest, fun, loving relationships with your fellow workers and citizens that matters the most.
I feel like we're really successful oftentimes based on the fact that we have a great product that we sell to the public and the way that we sell it. The cheese side of things, we try to educate people about cheese, and we try to help them explore different cheeses, and we always give a taste of whatever it is they want to buy, or even what they don't want to buy, just as for them to try. And the bread as well, we're constantly working on improving our products and making better bread, and we keep adding things to our repertoire, and it just keeps the business alive when we keep adding things, and we try to use as many organic ingredients as possible. So we're really committed to high quality.
What makes a good cooperative member, in my opinion, is someone who comes in with ideas to help the business grow financially, emotionally in a sense, to come in and work in a good environment, work ethic environment. Financially, I would say, and I would get dogged at the same time for it, because if we all made $7 an hour, no one would work there, because there's no one that can pay their mortgage on $7 an hour. So you need to make good money in order to be able to pay health insurance, dental, a good living wage, especially in the Bay Area.
For me, one of the most powerful things about being here is the sense of community that's been created by the place. I think partly because we're all equals, and because it's such a great place to work, and because we have great benefits, and there's no boss taking, 60% of the profit or whatever it is, 90%, I don't know. Because of all of that, people stay for a really long time, and we get to know each other. These people are my really good friends, and we get to know each other, and I love working with my friends, and I love coming to work, and I know the customers, and it's just a great, fantastic place to be.
Well, one of the things that's really nice too is, as well as having a sense of community within the group itself, we're all business owners, and so when you're waiting on a customer or helping somebody or creating a loaf of bread or any of the work you do here, you do it as an owner. And I think that spills over to our customers, and when they come in here and are treated really well by us, they get it, and they get it, that we really care about this business.
Number 5, 6, and 7 of the International Cooperative Principles are education and training, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. The Cheese Board Collective has exemplified these principles, and in doing so has set a positive and encouraging example of an alternative possible even under the prevailing business system in the U.S. The Cheese Board Collective gives tours, works with schools, and has incubated, trained, and financed other cooperatives, while also giving continually to their community through sponsoring events, giving away food, and discounts to nonprofits or to those in need.
car, it drives just like a dream. I got money and could buy most anything. I've got places to go and things to do. I've got everything. Everything you choose. I've got a date that's just bulging at the seams. I got the numbers of all the local queens. They give me memories that last a day or two. I've got everything, everything but you. And this new car I drive don't mean anything, which reminds me there's a payment overdue. And they say that I'm a man, I've got everything. I've got everything, everything but you. And this new car I drive don't mean anything, which reminds me there's a payment